What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bringing you guys another review for One Piece chapter 1034. And chapter 1034 is really good, man. We are finally starting to see that boy Sanji not only accept his fate, but also Sanji's taking a look at everything that's happened to him, and Sanji's making the best out of it. And he's coming out of this battle with Queen a more competent fighter, a more dangerous fighter. And I love what we're seeing out of Sanji right here. Sanji is once again making that case for being the best boy. So the chapter opens up where you got one of the girls that was working over there on the island. She's running around. She's looking for a mouse. You got Momo. Momo's running through the area. He's trying to use his powers as a dragon to try and push the island back up because he's trying to stop it from falling on top of the flower capital. So you're seeing the signs right there that Momo is gonna end up making his own legend and eventually do what needs to be done to be the next Shogun of Wano. However, what you end up seeing after this is that Sanji versus Queen, this battle is raging on, and this battle is not going to be ending the way that Queen thought that it was, because Sanji very quietly has been leveling up through the process of this fight. So you got Queen, and he's starting to use the powers of Germa 66, where he's shooting out these laser eye beams, and Sanji's thinking, wait a second, these are the powers of my siblings. And then he's using the Henry attack, and as Sanji begins to put all the pieces together that this is exactly what Queen's doing, Queen is just openly boasting, and he's telling him that I'm using all this scientific technology to try and take you down. I wanted to take you down while you were in that raid suit because I wanted to prove to your father Judge that I was the superior scientist. And Sanji, he's not trying to hear any of it because Queen is just using this as an opportunity to get one over on his rivalry with Sanji's father. And Sanji's like, I don't care if you can recreate the moves of my siblings. Stop lumping me in like they're my family. And you see Sanji struggling for a bit, but the man gets a really good moment where when Queen is just doing all this damage to him, Sanji's able to destroy one of the extensions that Queen has, and you get this really good double spread where there's a lot going on with it, but there's a lot of detail with it. And so essentially after Sanji's able to do so, Queen, he's just shouting, he's cursing Sanji, you can tell he's really been getting through the ringer. However, Sanji is standing up and he's like, I told you, do not lump me in with the Germa 66. I'm my own man. And when Queen fires back saying like, hey, isn't there a thing of freedom of speech? Sanji basically says you can take your freedom of speech and you can shove it. Sanji is got a new resolve to start back fighting, and he's able to push Queen back, and that's a really impressive feat of strength that you're seeing from Sanji right here. You see Sanji, he's got that wrist back, and Sanji's, he's posing for a little bit, he's got the leg lifted, and he's like, you can't always think you're gonna have the upper hand on me. And when Queen takes a look over at Sanji and realizes that Sanji should have had more damage than he's already got, Sanji has very ominous words. He says, I've already accepted my fate. I'm not the same person that you were fighting back under the dome. And when Queen hears this, he's like, okay, challenge accepted. I'm going to go ahead and make you eat those words. And he starts using Sanji's own move, the Stealth Black, and Queen just vanishes. And Sanji, for a moment, looks amazed. He's like, man, okay, you can copy that move too. But then Sanji vanishes. And when Queen hears this, he's like, wait a second, how could he do that? He isn't wearing his suit. So how is it that he's able to actually take off at such high speeds? That's not possible. And for a moment, you can see that Queen's trying to recompose himself, and he comes to the conclusion that Sanji is appearing to be invisible because he's moving through high speeds, but the moment he runs out of stamina, he's going to be visible to me. However, we as readers know that there's something else to this. And so essentially, as Queen is taking in the sights and he realizes that the geisha, the dancer that he's got a soft spot for, especially now that Komurasaki is no longer there, Queen is just looking over at her, and he's turning and he's walking, and that's given the floorboards that creaking sound, and that gives Sanji an exact location of exactly where it is that Queen is. And Sanji thinks to himself, I've got an exoskeleton of muscle, I've got a speed increase, I got a muscle increase, all this stuff means that my strength is going to be through the roof. And then with the armament hockey that I've got, when you combine that with the exoskeleton and my legs are tougher than they were now, I can exert higher flames. And so Sanji starts cooking up these huge flames on his leg, and he starts moving even faster than before. And when Sanji descends down on Queen, Sanji just does this awesome leg drop right on top of Queen's head and sends this man flying face first into the floorboard. But before he can actually come down all the way, Sanji's down at the ground and he leans over and he kicks Queen right across the side of what looks like his neck, sends him flying a bit. And then you start seeing Sanji just wailing on him, using attack after attack. And the chapter ends off with this beautiful double spread where you got a lot of good contrast here between all the black and white and the heavier shades, where Sanji lands a direct hit on Queen that looks like this might be the final blow on Queen as a character. And if this is what ends up taking out Queen, what I like about this is that Sanji has basically come to the realization that his father might be scum, his father might not be anything he wants to be associated with, but even though he's got these enhancements to his body, Sanji is still Sanji at the end of the day. He isn't going to necessarily turn out like his siblings. And even then, he should look at his sister, because his sister is an example that not everything with those siblings has to end up the same. However, the other thing that we see is that Sanji also has come to the realization that because he's got that power, as long as he uses it properly, Sanji will never turn out like his siblings. And so it's one of those things where I really feel like if Sanji would have discovered this power earlier on in the series, Sanji would have been more lost. However, right now, after everything that he's been through, Sanji's able to effectively use it, and he's going to be a better asset to Luffy as Luffy continues on his quest to be the Pirate King. So I mean, this was a good chapter, man. I like what we're seeing here. This was short, this was sweet, but this was such a triumphant moment for Sanji as a character. So my chapter question for you guys is, what are you guys' thoughts on actually seeing Sanji potentially defeat Queen? Was Queen the right opponent for Sanji to unlock this power when fighting against him? But so always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.